fog-shrouded hamlets of Galicia, Asturias, and northern Portugal, where ancient oaks whisper secrets and the night is a living thing, a procession of terror haunts the rural dark. La Santa Compañía, a spectral parade from Iberian folklore, is no mere myth, but a harbinger of doom, its presence chilling the soul. The air grows heavy with the scent of wax and decay, and the stars dim as if fleeing its approach. By midnight, when the world holds its breath, La Santa Compañía emerges, a line of hooded figures, cloaked in white, gliding soundlessly through mist-choked paths. Their faces are hidden, their forms faintly glowing, each clutching a candle that burns with an unnatural flame. At their head walks a living soul, cursed to lead, their eyes wide with terror, a cross clutched in trembling hands. This bearer, chosen by fate or sin, cannot speak, cannot rest, doomed to guide the dead until another takes their place. Behind them, the souls of the damned follow. Their whispers a dirge that burrows into the mind, chanting names of those soon to die. The procession is relentless. It weaves through forests and fields, avoiding churches, its path marked by a cold that seeps into bones. Those who see it, fools who linger too late, feel their blood freeze. To meet La Santa Compañía is to court death. Some are beckoned to join, their souls snared if they step too close. Others, glimpsing the bearer's face, find their own name on the wind, a prophecy of their end. Dogs howl, then fall silent. Crops wither where the procession passes, and the ground feels hollow, as if the earth itself mourns. The tales are grim. A farmer, spying the line from his window, fell ill and died days later. A girl, hearing her name in the whispers, vanished into the fog, her shoes found empty by the road. To ward off the Compañía, villagers draw chalk circles around their homes or scatter salt, but these are frail defences. Some say a prayer to St. Michael might save you, but only if your heart is pure. The impure are marked, their dreams haunted by candlelight and hooded eyes. No one knows what drives La Santa Compañía, or why it roams the northwest wilds. Is it a divine warning, a curse of the old gods, or the restless dead seeking company? If you walk the rural paths of Iberia, where the fog twists and the night feels alive, tread softly. Ignore the flicker of candles, the whispers that know your name. Do not look at the bearer's face, for La Santa Compañía is no mere legend. It is the march of death, eternal and unyielding, and its procession claims all who cross its ghostly path. The secrets they seek to bury. Their mission is simple yet sinister, to silence anyone who has seen too much. The stories begin with those who claim to have encountered UFOs or survived alien abductions. These individuals, still grappling with their experiences, often report being visited shortly after their sightings. The men in black arrive unannounced, moving with an uncanny precision. Their black cars glide noiselessly to a stop, their faces emotionless, almost inhuman. They speak in monotone voices, their words rehearsed yet unsettling, questioning witnesses with an intensity that chills the soul. Witnesses describe them as eerily identical, their skin pale and waxy, their movements robotic, and their eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. There's something not quite right about them, something that suggests they are not entirely human. Some claim they know intimate details about the witnesses' lives, things they could not possibly have discovered by conventional means. The encounters often end with thinly veiled threats. The men in black warn their targets to remain silent, to forget what they've seen, and to never speak of their experiences again. Those who defy these warnings report strange occurrences, missing time, unexplained illnesses, or even complete disappearances. To this day, the men in black Are they government agents protecting hidden truths? Or are they something otherworldly, sent to ensure that humanity remains blind to the forces that lurk in the stars? Whatever they are, one thing is certain: when the men in black come knocking, the truth is the last thing they want you to uncover. It started in Brookline, Massachusetts in 1981. Children came home pale and trembling, their voices shaking as they spoke of figures lurking near schools and playgrounds. Clowns, but not the kind that belonged in a circus. They wore bright costumes, oversized shoes, and painted on grins, but their eyes were too dark, too hollow. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, as if something wrong was hidden beneath the fabric and face paint. They never spoke, they only watched. Some children claimed the clowns beckoned to them, whispering in voices that didn't match their painted smiles. Others said the clowns appeared suddenly from behind trees, from alleys, always too close, too silent. Then they started chasing. One boy swore he saw a clown's grin stretched too wide, its teeth too sharp, before it lunged. A girl, breathless with terror, claimed she ran for blocks, hearing the sound of giant shoes slapping against the pavement behind her, only to find no one there when she turned around. Parents called the police, but when they arrived, the clowns had vanished. No footprints, no tire tracks, nothing. For weeks, sightings spread. More towns, more clowns, more terror. But no one was ever caught. No one knew where they went. Then, just as suddenly as they appeared, they were gone. But some say they never truly left. That in the quietest hours of the night, near empty playgrounds and abandoned streets, if you listen closely, you might hear laughter. Not the kind that brings joy, the kind that never stops. Excitement. It sounds like fear, pure and primal, and that's where the legend begins. According to the tale, the scream isn't a manufactured sound effect at all. It's said to be the desperate cry of a woman in her final moments, captured of circumstances. Some claim the scream was lifted directly from a real-life emergency call, recorded as a woman was being attacked. Others insist that the sound came from the studio itself, where a model, allegedly the woman featured on the album cover, was violently murdered after an argument with the band. The eerie scream has been dissected and analysed, yet no definitive answer has ever been given. It lingers as an unsettling reminder of how closely horror and reality can intertwine. Whether it's a creative flourish or a recording of something truly sinister, one thing is certain. Once you've heard the love roller coaster scream, you'll never forget it. And every time the song plays, you might wonder, what if the legend is true? What if that scream belongs to a ghost whose cry for help was immortalised in the music, forever haunting the track? The legend of Nycombe is one of triumph, but those who whisper it in hushed tones know that his spirit still lingers, a phantom bound by vengeance and fury. In 1767, after the fall of Ayutthaya, Nycombe, a captured Meitei fighter, was dragged in chains before King Mangra of Burma. The king, intrigued by the fierce reputation of Siamese warriors, devised a cruel test: fight 9 of his greatest Lethwei champions without rest, win and earn your freedom, lose and be forgotten in the dirt. One by one they came, 9 killers, 9 brutal, merciless battles. The first challenger lunged, but Nycombe moved like a shadow, his fists and elbows crashing into flesh with the force of a storm. Bones cracked, blood sprayed. The Lethwei fighters fell, one after another, each more savage than the last. The 9th man stood before him trembling. Nycombe did not hesitate. With a final, thunderous strike, the warrior sealed his victory. He stood alone, breathing heavily, surrounded by the broken bodies of those who dared face him. King Mangra, stunned, kept his word. Nycombe was free, but freedom came at a cost. Some say he never truly left. To this day, in the dead of night, fighters in empty training halls hear the echo of unseen fists striking sandbags. Some swear they've glimpsed a shadow moving in the ring, a lone figure wrapped in tattered cloth, forever fighting ghosts of the past. And if you ever hear the whisper of fists cutting through air, do not turn around, because Nycombe still fights, and he is watching. similar attacks that the legend of the green-clawed beast began to take shape. Women swimming in the Ohio River, or even simply wading in the shallows, were pulled under by invisible hands, their bodies scratched and bruised by the monster's powerful claws. The creature seemed to appear from nowhere, dragging its victims into the depths before retreating back to the darkness of the river. The green-clawed beast is said to be humanoid in shape, with long, sinewy arms and terrifyingly sharp green claws that glow faintly in the dim light of the river. Its skin is said to be slick and scaly, like that of some ancient amphibian, its eyes glowing with an unnatural hunger. Some say it is a creature of the river, born from the depths of the earth, awakened by the pollution and decay of the water. Others whisper that it is something far older, an ancient terror, long forgotten but never truly gone, that has always lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to strike. The attacks continue to haunt the town to this day, with local legends speaking of the creature's periodic return, drawn by the scent of fresh blood or the call of an unsuspecting swimmer. Though the authorities have always dismissed the stories as nothing more than urban legends, the scars on the victims' legs and the eerie tales from those who survived tell a far darker story. And so, the green-clawed beast of the Ohio River lingers in the hearts of the people of Evansville, a nightmare that is never too far from the surface, waiting for the next unwitting soul to dip their toes too deep into its domain. If you ever find yourself on the riverbanks after dark, remember this. You might feel the water shift beneath you, a chill creeping up your spine, and then, just as the darkness swallows the last of the light, you'll hear the unmistakable scrape of claws against flesh. There's a dark and twisted tale that circulates online, one that is both bizarre and deeply unsettling. It's the story of the Hippo Eats Dwarf, an urban legend that tells of a circus performer, an acrobat or clown, depending on who tells it, who met a horrific end at the jaws of a hippopotamus. The legend goes that during a circus performance, the dwarf performer was meant to interact with the animals in a carefully choreographed act, entertaining the crowd with his bravery and skill. However, something went horribly wrong. As the dwarf entered the enclosure to face the massive hippopotamus, the animal, typically calm and trained, suddenly became agitated. In a horrifying moment of confusion and fear, the hippopotamus lunged forward, its massive jaws snapping shut around the small man. The crowd screamed, but it was too late. Witnesses claimed that the hippopotamus swallowed the performer whole, a grisly spectacle that left the audience in shock and terror. The circus tried to cover up the incident, but the gruesome nature of the death spread like wildfire, becoming an urban legend that still sends chills down the spine of anyone who hears it. Some versions of the tale suggest that the circus attempted to retrieve the body, but all they found was the empty, bloated carcass of the hippopotamus, the man's remains never to be recovered. Others claim that the performer's spirit haunts the circus grounds, lingering in the shadows, seeking vengeance or simply trying to make sense of his bizarre and brutal fate. No matter the version, one thing is certain. The Hippo Eats Dwarf legend is one that continues to terrify, reminding us of the chaos and horror that can unfold when the line between performer and beast is tragically crossed. desolate underpass of Southend-on-Sea, where the wind howls like a mourning spectre, a horror festers in the dark. The Ratman of Southend, born from a tale too vile to forget, haunts the concrete tunnels beneath Essex's streets. His story is one of cruelty and vengeance, a wound in the night that bleeds terror into the hearts of those who dare pass through. Once he was a man, an old homeless wanderer, frail and forgotten, seeking refuge from winter's bite in the underpass's grim shelter. But cruelty found him. A pack of youths, their hearts as cold as the frost, descended upon him. They beat him, their laughter echoing as his bones cracked and blood pooled. Left to die, the cold and his wounds claimed him, but his end was not quiet. The vermin of Southend, the rats that skitter in the shadows, gathered. Drawn by death's scent, they devoured his face, leaving a grotesque mask of bone and ruin. Now the underpass is cursed. The air within is heavy, sour with the reek of decay and something fouler. By night, when the town grows still, a ghostly figure stalks the tunnels. A stooped silhouette, faceless, its form flickering like a flame in the wind. Those who see it freeze, their blood icing over as its eyeless gaze seems to pierce their souls. The sound comes next, a chorus of rat-like squeals, shrill and hungry, rising from the dark. Then the scraping, claws too large, too deliberate, dragging across the walls, carving unseen runes of dread. The living avoid the underpass after dusk. Those who must cross it speak of footsteps trailing too close, of breaths that aren't their own. Some swear the walls pulse, slick with an unnatural warmth, as if the concrete itself lives. Others have seen the rats, too many, too bold, swarming in patterns that defy nature, their eyes glinting with a shared malice. A few, the unlucky, claim the Ratman whispers, his voice a rasp of pain and rage, promising retribution. No one knows what binds him to the underpass. Is he the old man's spirit, twisted by his gruesome end, or something older, summoned by the violence, wearing his death like a cloak? The youths who killed him are long gone, some say vanished, their fates unspoken. Southend's folk leave no offerings, only prayers to pass unmolested. If you tread that forsaken tunnel where the lights flicker and the air claws at your lungs, move quickly. Ignore the squeals, the scratches, the shadow that moves when it shouldn't. For the Ratman is no mere ghost. He is the underpass's hunger, its vengeance, and he waits, faceless, for those who linger too long. He believed to be the guilty party. The spotlight would shift, illuminating their face, exposing them to the judgment of the crowd. As Colin sang, his voice filled with a chilling intensity, the lyrics taking on a new, accusatory meaning. The silent witness, they said, would be revealed, their dark secret exposed to the world. Tonight, as Colin sang, his eyes scanned the crowd, a flicker of recognition in their depths. The spotlight shifted, landing on a lone figure in the back, their face pale and drawn. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. The figure, bathed in the harsh glare of the spotlight, looked eerily familiar. A face Collins hadn't seen in years. The face of the boy who had drowned. In the quiet wooded landscape of Wisconsin, there's a chilling mystery that lingers in whispers and half-forgotten memories. According to legend, there once was a town named Doveland, a small, close-knit community with friendly neighbours and quiet streets. Yet, by the early 1990s, Doveland had disappeared without a trace. Not merely abandoned or decayed, but entirely erased, as if it had never existed. Today, there are no maps, no records, not even a mention of it in official documents. Yet, people swear they remember it, and others carry fragments of its memory in objects and eerie recollections, wasn't meant to be remembered. The most unnerving aspect of the legend is that no one seems to agree on what happened to Doveland. Some say it was the result of a government experiment gone wrong, a project that shattered the fabric of reality itself. Others whisper about a tragedy so horrific that the town was erased to protect outsiders from its dark secrets. And still, there are those who believe Doveland simply slipped through a crack in time, disappearing into another dimension, leaving only the faintest of imprints in our world. Strangers passing through the area where Doveland once stood often report feeling lost or uneasy, as if they're being watched by something unseen. There are other eerie reports as well. Travellers say that on certain nights they've seen faint lights through the trees and heard the distant sounds of music and laughter, as though a town was still there, celebrating in the darkness. Some even say they've glimpsed ghostly figures in the shadows, walking along non-existent streets, whispering words that dissolve in the wind. People who claim to have lived in Doveland share an unsettling commonality. They all experience recurring dreams of returning to the town, walking familiar streets, greeted by familiar faces, faces they now cannot remember. They wake with a sense of deep loss, as if a part of themselves was left behind in that town that no longer exists. Strangers who visit the region sometimes describe feeling a magnetic pull to a place that doesn't appear on any map, or an intense sense of déjà vu, like they've stepped into a place they once knew but cannot recall. Doveland, Wisconsin remains an enigma, a town lost to time or perhaps to something far darker. Its absence lingers like a wound, and those who remember it are left with the eerie feeling that a piece of reality has slipped away, taking with it a slice of their own lives. The mystery of Doveland hangs like a shadow over the region, a strange void that beckons to those who seek it, yet warns of dangers hidden within forgotten places. For those who dare to remember or seek to uncover its secrets, there's always the haunting question: what happens to those who dig too deep into a place that was never meant to be found? In the shadowed annals of maritime lore lies the chilling tale of the floating coffin of Charles Coghlan, a legend as haunting as the sea that carried it. Charles Coghlan, a celebrated actor born on Prince Edward Island, Canada, met his end far from home on November the 27th, 1899, in Galveston, Texas. His body was interred in a stately vault in Lakeview Cemetery, where it was thought to rest in peace. But the sea had other plans. The following year, in September 1900, the infamous Galveston hurricane struck with apocalyptic fury. Winds howled like banshees, and the surging waves claimed thousands of lives, including the dead already buried in the earth. Among the storm's grisly victims was Coghlan's coffin, torn from its resting place and cast into the raging Gulf waters. For years nothing was heard of the coffin's fate until a tale began to emerge, one whispered with disbelief and dread. According to legend, the coffin, guided by some unseen hand, or perhaps by Coghlan's unfulfilled yearning for home, drifted through the Gulf of Mexico, up the Atlantic coast, and across the icy waters, eventually washing ashore on the rugged shores of Prince Edward Island. There, it was said, his remains were laid to rest at last in the land of his birth, completing a ghostly journey of thousands of miles. Though modern accounts debunk the fantastical end of the legend, claiming his coffin was discovered in 1907, partially submerged in a marsh just 9 miles from Galveston, the eerie myth endures. Ripley's Believe It or Not immortalised the story in 1929, solidifying its place in folklore. Even now, the tale of Charles Coghlan's floating coffin remains a ghostly reminder of nature's wrath and the strange forces that seem to guide the dead. Whispers linger of his spirit still haunting the restless seas, a man forever tethered to the tides that carried him home. the shadows of Terrell, Texas, whispers and warnings have woven a chilling legend through the generations. A tale that clings to the fringes of nightmare and reality. They call her the Candy Lady, but behind the innocuous name lurks a sinister spectre named Clara Crane, whose story has haunted the town for over a century. The legend began in the early 1900s, when children in Terrell started to vanish without a trace. Desperate parents scoured the land, dredging the creeks and combing through the thickets, but none could unearth any sign of their missing offspring. As the community groped for answers, a disturbing pattern emerged. Children reported finding candies on their windowsills, pieces of caramels wrapped in crinkling parchment paper, with tiny notes urging them to come out and play. The notes were always signed with a simple, eerie C. Whispered tales from older folks traced the unsettling gifts back to Clara Crane, a woman once known among the townsfolk. Clara, they said, had lived on the fringes of Terrell, a reclusive and peculiar widow, whose only solace after the death of her abusive husband was her young daughter. Her life spiraled into darkness when her daughter mysteriously died, with local gossip suggesting foul play. The town shunned her, whispering that she had gone mad with grief, her mind twisted by the tragedy. Some said she blamed the children of Terrell for her loss, believing they had enticed her daughter into some fatal mischief. After her daughter's death, Clara vanished into obscurity, leaving only the decrepit shell of her home as a testament to her existence. But the story of the Candy Lady did not end with her disappearance. It was as if her spirit, unquelled by death or reason, continued to seek vengeance. The candies kept appearing, each piece an eerie invitation from beyond the grave. The most unsettling accounts involve letters found with the older children, written as if Clara herself were conversing with them from the shadows. These letters were more sinister, promising the children their fill of sweets in life and in death. It was as if Clara was crafting a congregation of souls, luring the innocent with sugar-coated deceit. Late at night, when the moon cast a ghostly glow across the fields, some claimed to see a figure near the edge of the woods, a silhouette of a woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the darkness. They said it was Clara, watching, waiting for her next child to claim. Those who dared to venture too close to the woods at night reported hearing the soft, unsettling melody of a lullaby drifting through the trees, only to be swallowed up by the suffocating silence of the unseen. To this day, the legend of Clara Crane, the Candy Lady, lingers in the air of Terrell like a thick fog. Parents tightly secure their windows, wary of the old tale, and remind their children to steer clear of the sweets that might appear unbidden. As Halloween approaches each year, the tension in the town tightens, a collective memory of the loss stirring in the hearts of those who remember. And so, the community watches and waits, the legend of Clara Crane etched deep in their bones, a spectral reminder that some tales are too chilling to be forgotten, and some spirits too vengeful to rest. Deep within Utah's Escalante petrified forest, legends warn of a curse that brings misfortune upon those who dare to disturb its ancient relics. For countless years, this eerie forest has stood still, haunted by trees turned to stone, their wood transformed into glistening shards over millennia. Tourists marvel at the colours and textures, but there's a rule among locals: never take a piece of the forest home. The curse, they say, is Stories tell of visitors who couldn't resist pocketing a fragment of petrified wood, believing they'd taken only a small, harmless memento. But the forest doesn't forgive theft. Those who take from Escalante soon find themselves ensnared in a web of relentless misfortune. One man, who once laughed off the legend, lost his job within a week. His family fell into financial ruin, and he became consumed by regret, unable to escape the shadow of his actions. Others have faced accidents so sudden and strange they could only be explained by the curse. A woman who took a single stone reported a horrifying series of events. Her car veered off the road on her way home, narrowly escaping a fatal crash. Her health began to fail inexplicably, her body growing weaker as if drained by an unseen force. Her nights became plagued with nightmares of twisted, ghostly trees, watching her with hollow, accusing eyes. Desperate to break the curse, people mail pieces of petrified wood back to the park, hoping for mercy. Rangers at Escalante receive hundreds of packages each year, filled with stones and pleas for forgiveness. Letters pour in, recounting stories of illness, financial collapse, and near-death experiences. The packages lie unopened, scattered as grim reminders that the forest does not forget. So, the legend endures, a chilling warning to those who visit. Leave the forest as you found it, or face its wrath. The petrified trees of Escalante may seem still and silent, but they guard their secrets jealously. Those who steal from them awaken a curse, one that clings to their lives, unrelenting until the debt is paid, or until they